Hi, I'll be making two videos on Into the Wild. This is going to be on part one of the film, which your first quiz is going to cover. Um, there was no wardrobe change between this video and the last one, but time has passed since my previous recordings. Um, look, my beautiful flowers are mostly dead, except for the one lonely pink gladiolus there that's kind of shooting out. So time has passed. The new week is beginning. Uh, to get a sense of Into the Wild and its central themes, I want to kind of talk about its actual structure first, its kind of narrative structure, because you're going to notice right away that there are two timelines running in the film. On the one hand, we have Alex's arrival in Alaska. All right, so and that's kind of the actual present tense, as it were. Everything else is kind of flashback. And each time we go to Alaska or visit him as he's traveling in Alaska or doing his thing in Alaska, um, time is moving forward. So we see him arrive, we see him find this bus, we see him go through a whole season. He writes his stuff, and the end of the film is at the end of his time on the bus. There's a second sort of narrative timeline, and it involves Alex's final interactions with his parents and his sister, and then him hitting the road. And that also goes fairly chronologically as well. So we kind of move between Alaska and then what's happening during all the months, almost a full year, that lead up to his time in Alaska. Um, Within both of those time frames, we get flashbacks even further to Chris's childhood, what it was like growing up with these parents. Um, and that kind of establishes, I think, one of the most important kind of central themes, which is that of family, and in Alex's case, that of coming from a very privileged and very white family. And I think that the movie makes us very aware that while Chris is homeless or on the road, as Kerouac would say, even when he has no money, he always has a, the kind of white privilege that allows people to pick him up by the side of the road, for example. Imagine if Alex were a black female protagonist and what his experiences would be like. So, obviously, both his whiteness and probably also his masculinity make quite a difference in how he's able to experience this world away from society, uh, which is you'll see when that comes up. Um, he also is trying to search out an identity that's authentically his. So in that way, he's an American romantic, but with a capital R. And you can look up Google American Romanticism, and you'll see what its basic premises are. But if you've read Thoreau in high school, Lord help you, and Emerson, they were the transcendentalists, the original romantics with a capital R, that believed that happiness or fulfillment came from um, uh, sort of running away from domestic society and living authentic off in nature and contemplating the oversoul and stuff. For Thoreau, that was a particularly solitary journey, though keep in mind that he had some white privilege too, because he was able to go build a cabin on Emerson's land, and that would become what the basis for Walden would be. So it's a search for a conscience, like let your conscience be your guide, a morality and ethics that isn't tainted by what other people have taught you to think. And he seeks that out in nature. But more importantly, he seeks it out through finding new family connections along his road, along his journey. And I want you to notice how happy he is and how happy he makes other people despite this quest to go live completely in isolation. So that's a real important tension that I want you to think about quickly or throughout the film. Um, the film ends, or the first half of the film that the quiz is on ends while he experiences a kind of homelessness that is very different from his own. So really watch for that. And when he sees his reflection in that restaurant, and he could easily be living that life of white privilege that that other fellow has, and he realizes that these black folks and people of color that surround him, they don't have his choice. I think that knowledge like frightens him. I think that's why he's like, I'm getting my stuff and I'm getting out of here, because he doesn't want to come face to face with this one thing of value that his parents did bestow upon him, that of education, a sense that you can always drop back into society if you leave it, and that his homelessness is actually a choice. It's a choice that most people don't have, and I think that's going to contrast really nicely with something you see in Fruitvale Station. So those are just some opening thoughts on the film. I hope you enjoy it. On the bottom of the quiz, if you want to get a bonus point, and I'll probably have to write in a book, maybe they'll let me override it. Your bonus point today is, white privilege. I want you to study that. White folks don't like to talk about it, but I think it's something that we want to consider as a class. So white privilege, there's your bonus point. Just write bonus at the bottom of your quiz, white privilege, boom, you got an extra point. All right, good evening, good night. Let's try not to catch me in a stupid face.